Yo, what's up, YouTube? The winter snowdown is over, and well, I've got the stats for you, win-loss, and my take on a lot of the matches. But first, I am Shotgun Shogun. Welcome to the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about the most recent $2,000 tournament, who was played, what their win rates were. We do this after every tournament, and it really gives you an insight into the changing of the meta for the people who are playing for big money, right? So one of the big things first off that I'd like to jump into right now is tanks, right? Tank meta last season, it was tanks everywhere. With the changes in the frenzy, this has made things a little bit more different. A tank has to also be able to control or initiate or bring something else to the table. That's why Adventurer Ross this time around is one of the most picked knights in the tournament. 58 times with a very staggering win rate as well of 58.54%. This is the highest win rate of any of the other tanks. FALCONER KLURI was picked 48 times, surprisingly, but was around 48.28% win rate. The post-ban or pre-ban wise, she was pre-banned 27 times, with Adventurer Ross only being pre-banned 5 times. So that will kind of bring into play a little bit of why she didn't have as much representation. A lot of people very, very scared of the FALCONER KLURI. Now, Fallen CECILIA picked 44 times, pre-banned 19, but did have a win rate of 57.5%. This is on par with Adventurer Ross. So very much showing that even the 3-star Adventurer Ross is on the same sort of level as your Fallen CECILIA. Now, obviously, they fill different roles. Adventurer Ross is very good at enabling. Fallen CECILIA is very good at anti-cleave, things along those lines. LILIAS this time not seeing as much representation as she has in the past, with only being picked 23 times, 0 pre-bans, only a 39.13% win rate here. KRAU and Last Rider KRAU, we're seeing a lot more blue KRAU being cropped up here recently, because defense buff, because horse. He is a very strong counter to Last Rider KRAU in that if you have Arius on him, which you should, the spillover damage will give you a very, very early horse. So blue KRAU picked 46 times, pre-banned 7, 53.66% win rate. Last Rider KRAU picked 64 times with the same 7% pre-ban, 45.61% win rate. Now, with the buffs to Landy, with people having time to learn kind of how to counter Last Rider KRAU, he has lost a little bit of his power since the last time around. A lot of people are switching more towards pre-banning Spectre Tenebria and running single target DPS against him. Additionally, you can pick Spectre Tenebria and run single target DPS against him. The problem last season was a lot of people were very, very invested in AoE damage. That's what a lot of people did. So Last Rider KRAU very strong in that meta. People have shifted over to that single target damage. That's going to bring us into our next unit. We're going to move into Bruisers. Apocalypse RAVI. Now, previously tournaments didn't really see much APOC RAVI. APOC RAVI was definitely falling off of the scene, falling off of the meta. Nobody used her. I've seen people calling for RAVI buffs. However, RAVI picked 43 times with a 52.5% win rate in the tournament. ALENCIA seen a little bit of a drop-off, picked 12 times, no pre-bans, 41.67% win rate. And I think the problem is that ALENCIA, while she does provide defense buff and defense break and strip, I think that there is a lot more units that can do similar things but bring other stuff to the kit. Adventurer Ross brings the defense break, brings the defense buff in one unit, as well as mitigation, right? The other problem is Fire RAVI. Fire RAVI coming in has really hurt ALENCIA, mostly because Fire RAVI is a natural predator to ALENCIA. So seeing a little bit of a drop off there. Now, somebody who has recently started seeing more play, and actually I think this is the first time we've ever seen him in a tournament is General PURRGIS, picked 10 times. Now, he did only have a 33.33% win rate, but seeing as it is his first time in the tournament, and I think most of those games were actually pan-shui, did make a bit of an impact, and I do think that General PURRGIS moving forward is going to make a lot of an impact as well. One of the things that you see often is Spectenny Last Rider KRAU. Now, if Last Rider KRAU is banned out, you can do Spectenny and G-PURRGIS, so that forces you to ban one or the other. So this does make things very good with the taunt on his S1, the ability to make your opponent have to play around you is very, very strong. Not only that, but attack up on his S3 as well as some okay damage. Now, Little Queen Charlotte, who recently got buffed, saw a lot more play this tournament than previously. 15 times she was picked, 66.67% win rate. Now, she is very, very strong in the current meta. Lots of things are dark. Your Rylets, your Arbys, your FCCs, very big staples, your Blood Moon Hastes, things like that. So Little Queen Charlotte's buffs have been very huge for bringing her back into the meta. Not only that, but having that passive Adamant Shield for the entire team is insanely strong. So you will expect to see a lot more of her in the future. Now, Mortellix, Mort, people were wondering, will we see him in the tournament? Is he good? Will he do things? Picked 4 times, 50% win rate. So yeah, he did okay. But RAVI also coming in again, very strong this tournament, picked 20 times, 55% win rate. Fire RAVI is very, very strong in the current meta. A little bit better of a win rate than her Apocalypse version, but both RAVIs very, very solid bruisers. These are going to be your just top tier bruisers. APOC RAVI, LQC, and Fire RAVI are going to be the bruisers for the next season. Now, moving into the support characters, we've seen a little bit of a shift here. Magic Scholar Doris actually getting picked 14 times, pre-banned 1 time, with a 63.64% win rate. The defense buff, the continuous healing, the CR push, and almost full heal on the S3 is very, very huge and allows you to do a lot of things. Not only does the CR push plus heal on the S3 allow you to set up CR pushing, just in case, let's say you need to move something forward to finish something off, put on a debuff, stun something, whatever have you. Very, very strong. Not only that, but defense buff plus heal plus continuous healing. If they don't have any sort of strip on their side, that is immense. Now, speaking of healers though, RUELE and DIENE, both very staple healers. RUELE getting picked 19 times, no pre-bans, no post-bans, but only a 47.37% win rate. I think that the fact that people have kind of been playing a lot more aggressive is very, very disadvantageous to RUELE users. RUELE is a very single target healer, and if you have a lot of heavy single target DPSers, you can very much focus down something. Once she wastes her heals, then focus her, finish it off. The other thing too, a lot of people are picking Blood Moon Haste, and once you get further into Frenzy, it is very easy to lock her down with the effectiveness changes. DIENE, however, 50% win rate on a 20% pick. She is coming back into the meta regardless of the previous perceived notions that she was falling off a bit. The attack buff, the shield, the cleanse, the soul cycling, I think is one of the biggest things. So if you pair DIENE with Adventurer Ross, you have almost an infinite amount of souls, and you can just S2 double up over and over and over again. And once you get a couple stages into Frenzy with like an APOC RAVI or a RAVI or a LANDY or an LQC, that's going to be something dead, especially if you have a semi-fast AROS. You have defense buff, you have anti-crit, you have shields, you have attack buff. Everything you need is in those 2 units. So you will see a bit more a bit more DN played. Landy is a problem for that team, so that is something that you have to watch out for, right? Sinful Angelica keeping our expectations high with 2 picks, 0% win rate. We did see a bit more Blood Moon Haste, not a bit more Blood Moon Haste, actually a bit less Blood Moon Haste, and not a very good win rate with Blood Moon Haste either. 26 times, pre-banned 17 times though, but only a 34.78% win rate. Now we are seeing a bit more Blue Rose this tournament. 15 times Blue Rose was picked, 61.54% win rate. This is typically a CR pushing Rose, right? So you saw this into Bruiser Cleave, into Standard Cleave, things along those lines. Blue Rose, very strong, provides CR push, provides mitigation, provides attack buff that you need for those bruisers to do, well, what bruisers do. And this season being very, very aggressive is going to be a very solid Blue Rose season, right? One support, though, that actually showed up surprisingly, MAID Chloe, picked 3 times in the finals. 100% win rate. Can't beat it. Can't beat it. But we're going to DPS now, and that's one thing that a lot of people always want to know. DPS. What's the DPS? How's Arbiter VILDRED doing? Picked 37 times, 38%. Well, 37.93% win rate. Pre-banned 13 times, but people are learning how to deal with Arbiter VILDRED. Your top model Luca, your Blood Moon Haste, just tank and spank, things like that are making Arbiter VILDRED not as strong now. I know in, you know, lower level meta, Arby is going to always be very, very strong, but Arius Adamant defense buff, anti-crit really stops everything that he does. Pretty easily, actually. Assassin Sid, Assassin Kali, actually both being picked up 9 times. Assassin Sid, 75% win rate. Assassin Kali, 42.86% win rate. Actually a pretty good showing for the both of them. Assassin Sid not getting stopped as much as people thought with Guiding Light, things like Guiding Light, right? Cerisa on Guiding Light, sure, you don't get Assassin Sidded, but not only does Assassin Sid get rid of souls, but he also can shut down another target. Immunity obviously messes that up, but Assassin Sid doing Assassin Sid work. Assassin Kali, though, still very, very strong, 42.86% in a meta where you have to either go single target or fully commit to AoE. Assassin Kali is a very good Shadow Squad member, but recently buffed Landy. How did she do? She's been very much wreaking havoc on a lot of the PvP scene. Picked 15 times, pre-banned 3, 58.33% win rate. Landy, very, very strong. Lots of damage, defense penetrating damage. Also CR push, speed buff. Bringing her with Adventurer Ross, very, very solid, because not only are you increasing her her charge, but you are also doing that double up damage, CR pushing herself. Very amazing unit. I do wish she had a little bit more defense to her, but very, very solid overall. Operator SIGRET. Now, a lot of people think Operator SIGRET's bad. Operator SIGRET, too niche, needs buffs. Picked 19 times in the tournament, pre-banned 3 times, 46.67% win rate. Now, one of the people who used him or used her quite a bit was Light, and Light had a very amazing Operator SIGRET, being picked into Cleave, being picked into single target, being able to proc those shields with the double up Adventurer, or not Adventurer Ross, Oxlots, the Oxlots S3 into S2. Very, very big brain plays. I think that Operator SIGRET is a very strong DPSer in Cleave, and absolutely showed it throughout this. Now, Remnant Violet, always a staple unit, and Remnant Violet doing Remnant Violet things. Picked 41 times, pre-ban 12, 41.67% win rate. Sometimes Rylet just does Rylet things and does not like to evade. If you like to put your chances of victory in RNG, Rylet's your person. The thing is, though, with the buffs to Little Queen Charlotte, it does make reaching the Remnant Violet a lot easier. So there is that. Not only that, but people are picking Braceria more to counter him, and going from there. Seaside Belle dropping off a little bit here, 35% or 35 times she was picked. No pre-bans whatsoever. 56% win rate, though. A lot of times still shows you pick Seaside Belle and you win. Mostly tanky Seaside Bells. That is the kind of go-to there, but still very, very strong unit. Spectre Tenebria, 53 times she was picked, 30 pre-bans. I actually think that this is one of the higher pre-banned units, 50% win rate. Now, the big thing with Spectenny is that if you let her through, you have to commit to AoE, some sort of reach. Now, like last pick S10, or even like I was saying earlier, the last rider KRAU or PURRGIS pick into S10 makes your opponent have to draft a certain way. So it's almost a free pick on which one you want. And if you pick both of them super early, you can see what the other person is going to be running and kind of adjust towards that. So as still a super meta unit. Tempest Surin picked 12 times, 33.33% win rate. Typical Tempest Surin, not the highest win rate, but definitely does do work. Now, new unit on the block, top model Lulica, picked 30 times, pre-ban 3, 66.67% win rate. Very, very strong unit, whether it be into Arbiter, VILDRED, or not. Another part of a Shadow Squad, you have to assume that it's probably around 240, 250 speed. So unless you are speed contesting, probably not going to outspeed it, and it's going to do a lot of damage. Somebody that doesn't get picked too often, but Vivian coming through with a 50% win rate on 4 picks, and then Watcher Shuri being picked 5 times with a 66.67% win rate. Now, there is something to be said about a semi-speedy Watcher Shuri. You don't always have to build him to one-shot Banshee or A13 and use him in RTA. You can build a semi-fastish Watcher Shuri if you have the right stats to one-shot anything on the board, because, well, 100% defense pen. So that is something that I have noticed people kind of moving towards, a 180, 190 speed Watcher Shuri being pushed forward, maybe with like a Blue Rose, using it in a Politica Cleave to kind of push him forward, and you have that speed imprint as well. But let's move on to control. And this is something you're going to see a lot more of coming up in the upcoming season, because the game is shifting a lot more towards control with, the new Tenebria, with a lot of characters like Cerise getting buffed, things along those lines, SBA coming back into Mystics. Basar picked 30 times, pre-ban 3 times. However, only a 31.58% win rate. A little rough for the Basar bros out there. Cerise, though, recently buffed and very over buffed, in my opinion. Picked 16 times, pre-banned 7, 75% win rate. Very strong. Cerise does a lot of things. The double up, the stun, if you run her on Confile or even Guiding Light. I personally like Misconfile because of the defense break. The defense break into the double up on her S1 is devastating. Very, very strong, and shows it here. And speaking of strong, Dizzy still maintaining a very, very strong win rate. Picked 19 times, 61.54% win rate. If you lock things down with like a Dizzy, a Tywin, just exclamation point control in the chat. Now, somebody that we seen previously in tournaments, but I was interested to see how he would do with the recent changes, is Sageball and Sezin. Picked 9 times, 50% win rate, but he was pre-banned 2 times, so that's kind of interesting. I do think that Sageball has a spot in the future meta as that tanky control true damage dealer that can potentially solo 1v1 in the late game with endless sleeps, things like that. So we will see just how much he brings to the table in the upcoming season. Ambitious Tywin, you know he's gonna be on here. Picked 35 times, pre-banned 18 times, 55.56% win rate, a tie win. Am I right? A tie win with any type of other control, even not just normal control, right? Bruiser control, very, very strong. Your Magic Scholar Doris plus Dizzy plus Ambitious Tywin, very strong. Cerise, Dizzy, a Tywin, some sort of support, devastating. You don't even get a turn. Speaking of control, though, we did see 2 Silverblade Araminthas in the game, ran by Elvmage as a kind of what seemed like a almost panic last pick, but it worked out. 100% win rate. You love to see it. I love to see it. I'm a big fan of SBA, and if you have multiple strippers into a Silverblade Aramintha, it is almost impossible to win at that point. You have to rely on the 15%. Now, if you run Silverblade Aramintha and Ambitious Tywin, good luck. Stuns. You're going to get stunned all day, all night. Now, somebody that you would think would be picked regularly to counter control, Holiday Euphine, picked 7 times this tournament. Win rate, 0. Actually, a little surprising because we have seen a lot of Fines in the past that have done fairly well. This time around, though, did not do work. Who did work, though, on control teams? Fighter Maya, that's right. Picked 11 times, pre-ban 0, post-ban 0, 54.55% win rate, bonking people to the absolute moon. A lot of very, very solid Fighter Maya plays in this. Now, Champ Zerato picked 3 times, 33.33%. One of them. I do think that the upcoming season is going to be very advantageous for Champ Zerato to make a comeback. As a matter of fact, I am working on my Champ Zerato right now. I think a lot of people traded theirs in for Angelica, and they're going to be regretting it this season. Now, other units that don't really fit into any of these spots, but I wanted to bring up are, who do we have here? One second, I wanted to check out where Bryceria was. Blood Moon Haze, Briar Witch Iseria, picked twice. 1-0. Actually do think that Briar Witch Iseria needs a little bit of a buff overall. Celine, picked 4 times. Win rate, 0. I was actually a little bit surprised with this, but I do find that people who pick Celine into like a cleave setup, something along those lines, the opponent is aware of it and is ready to play around the appearance of the Celine, right? You pick a little bit differently, or you just blow up the Celine turn 1. And then after that, it is over. You can bait the Celine into something that you know will live. A top model Lilica with a very high level Dignus Orb and a lot of attack, most likely going to live through the Celine. So there is that. Now, Faithless Lidica, we did see a little bit more cleave this tournament than previously. Faithless Lidica did get picked 23 times, 46.67% win rate. We also saw a pseudo damage Flitica at one point, which was a little interesting and a little surprising. It definitely catches your opponent off guard when you go that more like mid-speed, tanky enablement damage Flitica. Does it always work out? No, not always, but this time around it was interesting to see, that's for sure. Not too much else really to bring up in terms of units. MRSA 100% win rate, only picked one time in the finals alongside of the MAID Chloe from Aetherbulge, as a matter of fact, which was very interesting. The finals for this tournament were just an absolute shocker. The MAID Chloe pick, Aetherbulge being able to read his opponent's draft, being able to throw that MAID Chloe in there and then go, oh, this person doesn't have an answer for this, let's just keep drafting this. Very, very solid. Do I think that MAID Chloe still needs buffs? I absolutely do still think that MAID Chloe could use some buffs, but not the most dead pick in the game. But that is it for the breakdown. The next tournament is going to be the end of January, and the sign-up sheet is open. Now, I am going to cap this at 128 opponents. I do have, at the time of this recording, 102. I have 102 people signed up. So if you have not gotten in, the sign up sheet is down below. You do have to be in the Discord that is mentioned in the sign up. It is a different Discord than my Discord. Make sure you join that Discord. Make sure you request permission before the tournament, because, well, if you're not there, well, you won't be able to get your matchup. So there's that. But this will be for the January Champions Cup. For the spot in the main tournament, 4 spots in this matchup will be going, the top 4 people will be going to the main tournament for the spring showdown. So make sure you guys get in on that. We will have 128 people. First 2 rounds will be done offline, and we will be doing everything else normally, like we always do. If you haven't checked out the rest of the tournament, all of those are on the channel, and they will also be linked down below as well. So as always, if you guys do like this content, make sure you hit like, fave, subscribe, share this out to people who you don't think that these units are doing as well as they are, because, well, these players were playing for $2,000. But I will catch you guys on the next one. Take it easy, homies. Peace.
Cracky.